What's all that for?
He's making his world. Would you like to make a world too?
Perhaps.
Then you shall.
From cinema's invention in the late 1890s, filmmakers have sought to capture children's inner worlds and inner experiences. And this goes back to one of the first films ever screened, Lumiere's film of his infant son, André. In the post-war period in particular, filmmakers sought to really seriously engage with some of the developments in child psychology, in attachment theory, and particularly some of the findings about the effects of separation during wartime on children. The 1950s film No Place for Jennifer can certainly be understood in the context of this post-war research into attachment and separation with children. But what's interesting about the film is that it actually looks to Margaret Lowenfeld, and particularly her world technique, as a way to express a child's inner world.
I see there are a lot of wild animals prowling among the traffic. Now, I wonder what this tiger's doing.
I don't know, really, but he belongs somehow. He's dangerous.
Margaret Lowenfeld is a really interesting figure in the history of child psychology. She developed new techniques to help children express what they couldn't in words. Her world technique was really focused on a sand tray, which was always the same size and same shape, that would be filled with wet sand and another one with dry sand. So the child was free to do exactly what they wanted to do. She would always say to them, make what's in your mind. So she would never try to influence the child in any way, and she'd always use the words that they used to describe what they were creating.
Sometimes you live with your mummy, and sometimes you live with your daddy.
Yes, they both make a fuss about me, but they don't really mind what happens to me. Nobody does.
No Place for Jennifer looks at the traumatic effects of separation and divorce on a young girl, and then shows you how she is treated when she goes to the Institute of Child Psychology, based on the real institute in which Margaret Lowenfeld worked.
Well, we've got her over the first hurdle. She's told me quite a lot about herself. Is it going to be a difficult case? I'm afraid it'll take some time.
The process of making a world is as important as the end result itself. Children were encouraged to get messy, to play, to really express their emotions in a way that was non-verbal and a way that was meaningful to them.
Through the film, we see her go through these stages of chaos and struggle and resolution as she first builds a world which is marked by disorder and chaos through the placement of wild animals within the domestic setting. What we see through montage, through dissolves and through dialogue is her moving to this position of resolution within the film, where her world becomes more ordered and seemingly her inner world also becomes more ordered.
I think it's the best world I've ever made, don't you?
I see the tiger's gone.
Yes, I think he rather spoiled it.
Yes, he made it dangerous, didn't he? Jenny, do you remember the first world you made?
Yes, it was an awful muddle.
Rather a frightening sort of muddle, but that's how you were feeling inside then. Now, look at today's world. That's a happy sort of place, isn't it?
Yes, it's lovely there. It's lovely here, too.
Margaret Lowenfeld is a really forgotten figure in the history of child psychology, and that's because a lot of her ideas about the way children think and their emotions and how they're expressed kind of ran counter to the psychoanalytical trends that were going on, that were particularly inspired by Sigmund Freud. So it's really interesting that a film like No Place for Jennifer picks Lowenfeld and her techniques to explore in this way. It's a way of talking about emotions through toys. So as Margaret Lowenfeld said, toys are their language.